Hi, and welcome. My name is Sophia Elliot, and I'm a staff attorney with the Women's Law Project. At the Women's Law Project, we support and advocate for students and applicants working toward completing their education while pregnant and/or parenting in Pennsylvania. If you're pregnant or thinking about becoming pregnant, or you're parenting, you may have questions about your rights in your educational program. This webinar will provide information about the legal protections available to pregnant and parenting students. This webinar is for informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. The rights discussed in this webinar may not apply to every student. Women's Law Project offers legal advice and representation to students experiencing sex-based discrimination, including pregnancy discrimination. If you have a particular question as it relates to your personal circumstance, please contact us for assistance at info@womenslawproject.org. Title IX is a law that prohibits sex discrimination in any education program that receives federal financial assistance. It states no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. Title IX means that covered schools cannot discriminate or engage in unfair treatment based on the sex of a student. The law applies from elementary school to the university level and beyond, including graduate school. This also means that schools must take steps to address and eliminate discrimination reported by students or other members of the school's community. People often associate Title IX with discrimination in sports. It's true that before Title IX, women were largely excluded from collegiate sport opportunities. Title IX has been very effective at increasing girls' and women's participation and access to sport opportunities. But Title IX covers more than discrimination in sports. It also protects pregnant and postpartum students from discrimination in order to ensure they have the meaningful access to the same opportunities as their peers. Title IX covers a range of individuals and institutions. It covers all public and private colleges and universities receiving federal funds, and it also covers all students, employees, parents, guardians, student workers, and applicants at colleges and universities. At the Women's Law Project, we hear from students who are facing a range of problems and potentially discrimination in their educational program. We often hear from students who have been denied childbirth accommodations like remote learning and leave, which makes it very hard to stay on track for graduation, as most pregnant students will need at least some time to recover from childbirth and bond with their baby before returning to school. Other common problems include the denial of reasonable accommodations to make up missed work, which can result in missed deadlines and lower grades. They can also experience negative treatment from the school, including forced leave, which can be very financially costly and delay graduation. We hear from students who also face a lack of access to lactation accommodations or retaliation or punitive measures for trying to exercise their right to access lactation accommodations. Students in certain programs may face particular hurdles. Pregnant college and graduate students in science, technology, and clinical fields face unique and systemic barriers to their academic success due to degree requirements and the school's environment. For example, at the undergraduate level, pregnant students at community colleges are particularly vulnerable since they tend to begin their degrees at an older age. The Women's Law Project's Legal Navigator program helps pregnant and parenting students plan for and navigate their pregnancies, leave, and return to school. Our goal is to reach students before any issues arise because we recognize the law in this area is complicated and asking for accommodations or help at school is stressful. The Legal Navigator program also helps students assert their rights if discrimination has occurred. In those cases, the Women's Law Project may provide confidential legal advice and representation. The Women's Law Project Legal Navigator program can provide confidential legal advice and representation related to the disclosure of your pregnancy to your college or other educational program, including who you should disclose your pregnancy to and when. We provide advice related to pregnancy accommodations, including modifications to class schedule to account for prenatal appointments or other leave time students may need, clinicals, including rearranging the clinical program to fit your pregnancy-related needs, and exams to help account for the postpartum period in which you may require leave. Women's Law Project can also help you navigate childbirth leave and accommodations, like the potential possibility for remote learning, which many students may need in order to stay tied to their academic setting without taking additional time off. We can help you think about how to request lactation accommodations, including thinking through where you might be able to express milk in a private non-bathroom space and how to request time off to do so. We provide advice related to pregnancy-based harassment and hostile educational environment, including how to make reports if you're experiencing such harassment. We can also help you think through the risk of retaliation and how to report any retaliatory measures that you experience for reporting or complaining about discrimination or for attempting to exercise your rights. Under Title IX, pregnant and breastfeeding students have the right to adjustments to the regular program that are reasonable and responsive to their needs. We know that during pregnancy, people often need temporary, minor adjustments to their environment so that they can receive equitable education on the same terms as their peers. Under Title IX, pregnant and parenting students are entitled to such equal treatment. This means you have the right to stay in your school. Your school cannot force you to take leave, and you can choose to attend a separate program, but your school cannot force you to. You have the right to stay in your extracurricular activities, sports, and special societies. This would include specific classes, school clubs, and other activities that are part of the school's educational program, even if the activity is not directly operated by the school. You have the right to be treated like students with temporary non-pregnancy related limitations. That means the school must give you the same special services that it provides for other students who are not pregnant but may have a temporary disabling condition that requires accommodation. Similarly, the school cannot require you to produce a doctor's note unless it requires one for students with non-pregnancy related limitations. Therefore, it cannot require you as a pregnant student to jump through hurdles that other students who are not pregnant do not need to jump through. The school can require medical tests only when there's a legitimate health concern. And you also have the right to reasonable accommodations for your pregnancy, which can include a larger desk, more frequent bathroom trips, homebound instruction, remote work, or elevator access, and the opportunity to leave without being penalized to attend prenatal or other medical appointments related to pregnancy or the postpartum period. You also have the right to temporary leave for childbirth with an opportunity to make up lost time and missed work. You have the right to be free from harassment. Harassment is a range of conduct, including verbal acts and name calling, any graphic or written statements, or harassing conduct. You have the right to medical leave for as long as you and your doctor deem medically necessary. This must be granted without the loss in status in academics or extracurricular activities that you had before the leave. And you must have a meaningful opportunity to make up missed work. At the Women's Law Project, we often hear from students who return to work and they must catch up to make up all the work that they missed while they were out. But this could set you up for failure if you don't have a meaningful opportunity to make up your work. And that could include delayed exams or additional time to study. Under Title IX, you have the right to be informed of your rights. You can ask for your rights and your school must provide information. You can seek help from the school's Title IX coordinator. You can file a complaint with your school alleging discrimination, and your school cannot take action against you if you make a request for accommodation or you make a complaint. In sum, most schools have to let you stay in your school. They must give you reasonable accommodations, such as a bigger desk, class breaks, allow you to reschedule exams, excuse any absences that are pregnancy related, and so on. Your school must give you leave and let you make up your missed work. It must treat you like other students with temporary disabilities and must make sure you are not harassed. Your school must let you stay in your extracurricular activities, including any sports or special societies for the duration of your pregnancy and while you're a parent. And your school must keep your medical information confidential. Know Your Rights sheets with this information are available on our website. You can follow the URL on this slide to access and download information about your rights. You can also contact us if you have questions. There are several ways you can exercise your rights under Title IX. You can make a complaint with your school's Title IX coordinator. You can file a complaint with the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights and/or file a lawsuit in court. All school districts, colleges, and universities receiving federal financial assistance must designate at least one employee to coordinate their efforts to comply with and carry out their responsibilities under Title IX. This person is often referred to as a Title IX coordinator. Your school is required to publish your Title IX coordinator's contact information in its handbooks and catalogs for students, employees, applicants, parents or guardians, and unions or professional organizations. The Title IX coordinator's contact information must also be prominently posted on your school's website. Title IX coordinators for public school districts can also be found on OCR's coordinator's website at www.ed.gov/RTS-coordinators. Title IX coordinators for colleges and universities can also be found on the Office of Post-Secondary Education's Campus Safety and Security Data Analysis Cutting Tool. The current administration has proposed new regulations that would improve the protections for pregnant and postpartum students. The current regulations do prohibit discrimination against students, employees, and applicants based on pregnancy, childbirth, termination of pregnancy, and recovery from childbirth or termination of pregnancy. The current regs provide for reasonable adjustments for pregnancy-related needs, including, for example, access to an elevator. But so-called special services, including at-home tutoring or homebound instruction, need only be provided to a student that's pregnant on the same basis that such services are provided to students who have temporary medical conditions that are unrelated to pregnancy. That means that we need stronger protections for pregnancy-related needs, including broader acceptability of remote work or other special services, regardless of how the school handles such special services for non-pregnant students. The Department of Education is currently working through comments on its updated regulations that would provide greater protections for pregnant and parenting students. The changes, as proposed, would improve protections for students. As proposed, the rule would explicitly extend protections to LGBTQ+ students, clarify protections on the basis of pregnancy and lactation, including providing the right to accommodations and leave. And it would clarify protections against retaliation and the Title IX coordinator's obligations. Under the proposed regs, schools can't treat parents differently on the basis of sex, and that definition of parental status would be expanded to adoptive and step parents. The proposed regulations would clarify that recipients must protect students and employees from discrimination based on pregnancy or related conditions, including by providing reasonable modifications for students, reasonable break time for employees for lactation, and lactation space for both students and employees. Under the proposed regulations, a recipient would be required to ensure that when a student or a student's parent, guardian, or authorized legal representative tells the recipient's employee of the student's pregnancy or related conditions, that employee must provide information on how to contact the Title IX coordinator for further assistance. Once a student or the student's representative notifies the Title IX coordinator, the Title IX coordinator must take several steps. It must provide the student with the option of individualized, reasonable modifications as needed to prevent discrimination and ensure equal access to the recipient's education program or activity. The Title IX coordinator must also allow the student a voluntary leave of absence for medical reasons and reinstatement upon return. And the Title IX coordinator must provide the student a clean, non-bathroom private space for lactation. These are the rights under Title IX and the proposed regulations if adopted, but you may have rights under other laws. Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act protects all qualified individuals with a disability from discrimination by any public entity, including state or local public schools. The Rehabilitation Act is a national law that protects students in schools receiving federal financial assistance from being discriminated against on the basis of their disability, which includes pregnancy or lactation-related disability. It's important to note that pregnancy alone is not a disability, but pregnancy-related disabilities may qualify you for accommodations and protection under these laws. The Pennsylvania Human Relations Act, or PHRA, is a Pennsylvania law that protects students on the basis of discrimination in a number of areas, including employment, housing, commercial property, education, and public accommodations. The new regulations expand the definition for the protected class of sex to include pregnancy status, childbirth status, breastfeeding status, sex assigned at birth, gender identity or expression, affectional or sexual orientation, and differences in sex development. The Pennsylvania Freedom to Breastfeed Act is another law. This law allows a mother in Pennsylvania to breastfeed her child in any location, public or private, where the mother and child are otherwise authorized to be present. Therefore, if a student and their baby are both allowed to be at school or in a particular educational setting, the school cannot stop the mother from breastfeeding their child in that location. The Pennsylvania Fair Educational Opportunities Act, or PFEOA, is another Pennsylvania law that prohibits discrimination in post-secondary education and secondary vocational and trade schools. And you may have additional rights under other federal, state, and local protections. Keep in mind that many students are also working through their education, and you may have rights under employment-related laws for accommodations for pregnancy and lactation needs, as well as pregnancy-related leave time. Thank you to the Dolphinger McMahon Foundation for making this webinar possible. If you need additional assistance, please contact the Women's Law Project and we'll be happy to help you. Take care.